Oh, hi. Thank you for swinging by. Fancy seeing you here. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different, but that should also be slightly familiar to you. So from time to time I like to do visualizations to help you sleep, to help you relax. Okay, and this one is something very similar, but it just has a slight seasonal twist to it. So I will be taking you on a journey to a dilapidated old house, and we will be exploring it together. In this video there will be no jump scares, no gore. It is going to be a safe space for you. You're not going to suddenly find yourself waking up due to loud noises, and it does end in a relaxing way. And so it's not horror, but it might be a little bit atmospheric. I think that's how I might describe it. So I would like you to start off by just making sure that you're comfortable and that you've taken a few deep breaths in and out at your own pace. Just get relaxed, whether you're going to be sitting down or lying down. And I am going to make the screen go dark, so if you are going to sleep, that should help with that, I hope. And I will disappear so I'm not distracting, and you can just listen to the sound of my voice as I take you through this spooky mansion. Okay? Alright. Excellent. It is a still, moonlit night. You stand before a tall iron gate, rusted with age. Its once intricate designs are now overgrown with creeping ivy and moss, barely holding on to their former glory. The gate creaks softly as it sways in the light breeze, as though welcoming you, or perhaps warning you to stay out. Beyond it lies an imposing shadowed silhouette of a mansion, a monument to forgotten times. The house stretches upwards, its many windows like dark, hollow eyes staring down at you, covered in dust and grime, many cracked or missing entirely. As you step through the creaking gate, a cold draught seems to breathe out from the overgrown garden. The winding path, once perhaps carefully tended, is now obscured by weeds and untamed bushes. Dead leaves crunch beneath your feet with every step, the sound oddly loud in the stillness. The garden, in its decay, feels eerie. The silhouettes of long dead trees, gnarled and twisted, loom on either side. A soft hoot of an owl echoes from somewhere deep within the overgrown thickets, adding a mournful melody to the air. Ahead, The house stands like a crumbling giant, its roof sagging, walls streaked with the ravages of time. Stone steps, worn and cracked, lead up to a front door that hangs slightly ajar. The wood, once lightly polished and proud, is now rotted at the edges, the heavy brass knocker tarnished and green with age. A faint creaking sound escapes from the hinge as the wind catches it. You notice faint signs of the grandeur this home once held, a glimpse of carved wood in the porch's support columns, a glimpse of faded, stained glass in the upper windows. You push open the door, and it swings inward with a slow, groaning creak. Inside, the air is stale, heavy with dust and the smell of rot. The once grand entrance hall opens up before you, its high ceilings lost in shadow. The walls, lined with aged wooden panels, are now peeling, revealing damp spots and cracks beneath. An enormous chandelier hangs overhead, its crystals dull and dusty, swaying ever so slightly as if touched by a ghostly hand. Moonlight filters through cracked windows, casting broken shafts of light on the floor, illuminating patches of debris and forgotten furniture. The grand staircase, once the centerpiece of this majestic home, rises before you. Its mahogany banister is now warped and splintered. The carpet that runs up the steps frayed and worn down to the bare wood. It spirals upwards into darkness, the upper floors hidden from view, though you can just make out the shadowy outlines of what might have been grand portraits hanging on the walls, now faded and indistinct. Your gaze shifts to the large reception room on your left. The door is partially open, its paint peeling away in strips. Inside, the room stretches wide, dimly lit by moonlight filtering through a large bay window. Heavy moth-eaten curtains hang to either side, barely holding on to the old brass rails. The room itself was clearly once a place of elegance. A massive fireplace dominates one wall, its hearth filled with cold ashes and the remnants of long burnt logs. Above the mantel hangs an old mirror, its surface clouded, the reflection distorted as though it holds memories of the past. The furniture is sparse and decaying. An old chaise longue covered in torn and faded velvet sits beneath the window. Its cushions, once plump and inviting, are now sagging, spilling their stuffing onto the floor. A low table, intricately carved but missing one of its legs, leans precariously, surrounded by shattered remnants of porcelain vases and dust-covered trinkets. A grand piano stands in one corner, its lid open, but the keys are yellowed and chipped, silent and awaiting as though the music left it long ago. The room is filled with quiet, subtle sounds, and the soft scuttling of something unseen in the walls. The occasional creak of floorboards as though someone or something unseen is moving about. The wind whistles through the cracks in the window, creating a faint, ghostly hum that sets the hairs on the back of your neck standing. From somewhere deep within the house, you hear a faint thump, like a door shutting far, far away. The air is thick with the weight of time and abandonment. Every detail tells a story of what once was. A life of grandeur, now crumbling into ruin. As you stand in the reception room, you can feel the house watching, waiting, with secrets left untold. You step out of the reception room, leaving the quiet whisper of the grand piano and its forgotten music behind. The creak of the old floorboards echoes faintly as you make your way down the dim hallway. The walls here are lined with faded wallpaper, torn in places, revealing damp plaster beneath. Framed photographs hang crookedly, their subjects long faded, lost to time. The low hum of the wind persists, as does the occasional distant groan of the house settling in its decay. Ahead, the kitchen door looms slightly ajar, its handle rusted and cold to the touch. Pushing it open, you are met with the overwhelming sense of neglect. The air in the kitchen is musty, thick with the scent of old rotting wood and damp. The large cast iron stove sits in the corner, its surface covered in a layer of dust so thick that it blurs the once gleaming metal into a matte, lifeless grey. Pots and pans, still hanging from rusted hooks along the wall, sway slightly, producing a faint metallic clink as they brush against one another in the draught. The countertops are lined with the remains of what was once a busy, functional space, now a wasteland of forgotten tools, A rolling pin, cracked and split from years of disuse, lies beside a breadboard, its surface etched with faint knife marks. Rusty knives sit abandoned, their blades dulled and spotted. In one corner, a wooden table stands uneven, one leg propped up by a stack of disintegrating recipe books. Upon it sits a bowl, long since emptied, but still holding the eerie remnants of what might have been. Perhaps dried herbs, now dust and brittle stems, scattered across the surface like forgotten memories. The larder door, hanging crooked on its hinges, reveals shelves still stocked with ancient jars, their contents unidentifiable, sealed behind murky glass. The refrigerator, an old model with a heavy, rusting door, stands silently against one wall, a relic of another era, humming no longer. Leaving the kitchen behind, you walk further down the corridor and enter the dining room. The air here feels heavier, as though this room has held more memories, more presence than the others. A long rectangular dining table dominates the space, its dark wood surface marred with deep scratches and stains. Chairs, once finely upholstered, now sag beneath tattered, moth-eaten cushions. Some have fallen over, their frames cracked, as if the room had hosted a final, disastrous dinner before its abandonment. The chandelier above the table mirrors the one in the grand hallway, its crystals dull, many of them missing, yet it still holds a ghostly elegance in the pale moonlight. Cobwebs hang from its arms like delicate lace, swaying softly as the cold air slips in through a cracked window. At one end of the room, a grand sideboard dresser sits against the wall, its once polished surface now coated in dust. The glass doors on its upper shelves are shattered, and inside you can see fine china dishes, some intact, others broken, scattered haphazardly as though left in a rush. Silverware, tarnished and dull, is strewn across the sideboard's top, the forks and knives still arranged as if for use, though their gleam is long gone. A fireplace stands at the far side of the room, its hearth cold and empty. Above it hangs a large, faded painting, the subject barely discernible through the grime. Perhaps a family portrait, now lost to time. The wind whistles through the cracks in the window panes, and somewhere nearby another soft thump resonates through the walls, as though a distant door has closed. You hesitate for a moment, then make your way out of the dining room and back into the hallway. The library lies just beyond, its heavy wooden door closed, yet slightly warped by moisture over the years. You push against it, and it groans as it swings open, revealing a dim, sprawling room filled with towering bookshelves that seem to reach up into the darkness above. The scent of old paper and musty leather greets you as you step inside. The shelves are lined with volumes of books, some of their spines cracked, others covered in thick layers of dust. Many have fallen over, scattered across the floor, their pages yellowed and brittle. A large leather armchair sits in the corner, its upholstery cracked and peeling. Next to it, a small table holds an old rusted oil lamp and a pile of books, their titles barely legible beneath the dust. The floor beneath your feet creaks as you walk deeper into the room, the sound unsettlingly loud in the stillness. A fireplace, much smaller than the one in the dining room, sits against the far wall, filled with old charred logs. Above it hangs a portrait, its colours faded and muted, but you can just make out the figure of an elderly man, his eyes staring down at the room with a quiet, stern intensity. The wind outside picks up, and the window shutters rattle slightly, creating an eerie tapping against the glass. You can almost hear the faint rustle of paper, as though some of the books themselves were whispering the secrets of long-forgotten times. The room feels thick with the presence of history, as if the very walls were alive with the stories that were once read within them. From somewhere behind you, the soft creak of a door, perhaps the one you entered through, makes itself known, though you don't recall closing it. The air grows still again, thick with the silence of the old house. The library feels timeless, as though it has been waiting for someone to come and listen to its stories, yet those stories remain silent for now, buried beneath dust and years of decay. You leave the library behind, its whispered secrets fading as you step back into the hallway. Your eyes drift to the grand staircase, its twisted banister inviting you upwards. The steps groan beneath your weight, each creak a slow, drawn-out moan, as though the house itself were waking from a long slumber. Dust swirls in the beams of moonlight cutting through the cracks in the high windows, and as you ascend, you notice the air here feels different, heavier yet oddly comforting, as if the mansion itself were wrapping you in its embrace. At the top of the stairs, the landing stretches out in two directions. To your right, a long corridor beckons, lined with old portraits of stern-faced figures from long ago. Their eyes seem to follow your movements. The paintings cracked and faded, yet their presence unmistakable. You choose instead to turn left, where a smaller door, slightly ajar, leads you into what was once a child's bedroom. The room is small and intimate, bathed in a soft, pale moonlight that spills in through the thin curtains. The bed, a delicate iron frame painted white, stands against one wall. Its bedding is rumpled as though recently disturbed, yet you know no one has been here in many years. A few old stuffed toys sit propped up on the pillow, a bear with one eye missing, a doll whose porcelain face is chipped and cracked. There is a feeling of stillness in the air, but not one of sadness, more of quiet, peaceful abandonment, as if the room had been left to rest, undisturbed by time. You walk further in and find a small wardrobe in the corner, its doors slightly ajar. Inside, the faintest trace of lavender lingers, as if someone once cared for the clothes that now hang limply from rusted hangers. On the floor, a forgotten toy chest sits half open, its contents spilling out. A jack in the box, frozen mid-spring. Wooden blocks scattered across the dusty floor. A dollhouse, missing its roof. Connected to the bedroom is a small playroom. You step through the doorway, and the room feels lighter, more open. A large window overlooks the garden, though the glass is fogged and cracked. Tiny chairs surround a small table on which faded colouring books and broken crayons are strewn. Their once vibrant colours now dull and barely visible. Shelves line the walls, filled with old books and games, the toys here more worn, more used, as if the laughter of a child still echoes faintly within. Yet everything is covered in a thick layer of dust, as though frozen in time, waiting for someone to return. A small rocking horse sits in one corner, its paint chipped, but the gentle curve of its frame seems inviting, as if it waits for a child to ride it once more. As you brush past, it creaks softly, rocking ever so slightly in the stillness. Despite the decay, the room feels oddly comforting, as though it had once been a place filled with joy. Leaving the playroom behind, you head back to the corridor. As you step further into the hallway, you feel the weight of the portraits on the walls. They are larger now, more imposing, their dark frames casting long shadows on the faded wallpaper. Some of the figures look stern, others weary, yet all seem to share a sense of quiet, unspoken knowledge. Beneath them, a long sideboard is covered with curios, tarnished silver candelabras, porcelain figurines, an old clock that no longer ticks. Several doors line the hallway, each one closed and silent. You try the first one, but the knob refuses to turn, as though locked from the inside. The second door is much the same, silent, stubborn, and sealed shut. As you pass each one, you feel an increasing sense that some rooms in this house are not meant to be opened, at least not now. The house is old, and its secrets are many, but it seems to guide you in a particular direction. At the far end of the hallway, you notice a door slightly hidden from view. Its wood darker and the frame more humble. It is smaller than the others, and as you open it, you find yourself stepping into what was once a servant's room. The space is cramped, bare except for a narrow cot in one corner, a small dresser with a cracked mirror, and a single chair tucked into the corner. The walls are plain, the floorboards creaking beneath your weight. It is clear this room was one of practicality, of function, yet there is a strange sense of quiet comfort here, too, as though the servant who once lived here found peace in the simplicity of their life. Leaving the room, you continue down the corridor, past more doors you do not attempt to open, and finally you reach the master bedroom. The door swings open easily, and you're greeted by a room that feels different from the others. A sense of warmth and familiarity fills the air, as though the house itself is leading you to a place of rest. The bed dominates the room, a grand four-poster draped in heavy, rich fabrics that seem untouched by time. The covers are pristine, the pillows fluffed, the mattress inviting. A faint glow of moonlight illuminates the room, highlighting the polished wood of the furniture. The large, elegant wardrobe in the corner, and the writing desk by the window. A large, ornate mirror hangs over the dresser, and beside it, a door leads into an ensuite bathroom, its porcelain fixtures still gleaming faintly despite the years. But it is the bed that calls to you, its soft, untouched covers seeming almost too inviting to resist. You approach it, feeling a sense of calm settle over you. The house, despite its age and abandonment, feels safe here. Without thinking, you slip off your shoes and settle into the bed. The covers envelop you, soft and cool, and the mattress beneath you is unexpectedly comfortable. It feels as though the bed has been waiting for you, welcoming you home. As you lie back, staring up at the canopy above, a deep sense of peace washes over you. The sounds of the house, its creaks, its whispers, the faint hoot of an owl outside, melt into the background, becoming a soothing lullaby. Your eyes grow heavy, and though the mansion is vast and mysterious, here in this bed you feel completely safe. It feels as if the house itself is speaking to you, telling you to rest, to let go. The warmth of the covers lulls you deeper, and soon your thoughts begin to blur and fade like the edges of a dream. You let yourself sink into the softness, your breathing slowing, your body relaxing completely. There is no fear here, no worry, just the gentle pull of sleep, the deep comfort of belonging. With one last sigh, you let yourself slip away, falling into a deep, peaceful slumber. The house cradling you like a long-lost friend. And now you rest, safe and sound in the quiet embrace of the mansion, letting go of all your thoughts as you drift further and further into sleep.